Cool. We're live. Hi, guys. This is another Glasshouse session. As you can see, we are fully staffed today. Literally everyone showed up and then bailed like 30 seconds before the call went live. So me and Silas are going to hold down the house for 50 minutes, 30 minutes, see how long we can go. We'll basically talk until we've talked it out. And then we'll pull the plug. So let's get going. This week, this week there's been, obviously quite a bunch of stuff. There's the Follina O Day, which was, we've got things to talk about with that. There's the very interesting comments made by General Nakasone about the US doing hacks and stuff against Russia. A bunch of other stuff, but those have been the big ones. Let's start with Follina because we were just on that before, like we were chatting about it earlier. So one of the observations I made is it's quite interesting that this was uploaded from Belarus because it suggests that a Western or Western aligned APT was conducting an operation that was detected, right? Because if they found the file and they uploaded it, they had a reason to find it, right? So,
I mean, it's also fun because this is one of those cases, again, like fundamentally it's remote template injection, it feels like, but now it's the secondary, there's a different set of protocols you can use to fetch through, which, yeah, I love seeing when we find these new protocol ones because there was somebody commented on how Microsoft, the new version of Microsoft Office ships with like Microsoft org chart, and was asking where we're going to find O days in Microsoft org chart floating around, which looked like it was written in like 1992.
Yeah, like I think you remember the old RISC versus CISC debates with like, like CPUs are going to be slow because they're CISC and whatever. I think that makes more sense now when you think about operating systems and applications that you use. Like you've got these like fucking CISC apps which are just doing literally everything, and they're a bottomless well of O day. Like it just never ends. Like Office used to be the easy target back 20 years ago, and it's still an easy target now, apparently. So I mean, even people who hit Belarus and need O day for Belarus can find it.
I'll also flip it though as well, and I'll say that it was found in Belarus. VT submissions are funny things because it just shows that it's a point of interest. It doesn't necessarily show which direction it's going in. So right. It's sometimes a little bit like reading the tea leaves, but I think there's a lot more to this case, like this coming out.
We've got an IP address that might geolocate into Belarus. Allow me to explain literally everything that this means, because this is geopolitical. This is change of talent. This goes into everything. We can hang a lot on this one.
Hold on, is transmitting the information about this IP address GDPR compliant though?
There we go. Where is VirusTotal? This is a Google thing, isn't it? Right?
Oh yeah.
Google's got offices in Europe.
Google has offices everywhere.
Right. Like, this is clearly a violation of the privacy of someone who was getting hacked. That's not very nice. But seriously, like that, it's very interesting. First of all, like we were just discussing like who's going to go after Belarus and why. And the cyber partisans came up, but they don't strike me as the sort of group that would have O day. Certainly not that they could afford to lose in this, whatever this operation was. Similarly, like, maybe Ukraine, I don't know. I'm not sure why they'd go after Belarus, but they've seemed much more interested in Russia from, my experience, but could be, I don't know, maybe France, Germany, could be Germany, looking, find me an excuse not to ship heavy weapons to Ukraine.
I think it's still a little bit of reading the tea leaves right now, and there's still a ways to go for it. Yeah.
But it is interesting that it was caught. right? I think that so like based on the fact it was caught, it may be like I was thinking about this, but would we see like Kaspersky or Group IB or Positive Technologies come out and do reports on the cyber attacks that have been going on, right? Because this.
So that's something I'm really interested in too, and it's also one of the interesting things with like China. Like, so there was a report that came out a couple of weeks where they're looking at more of what is actually hitting this like China scene, and there was one from a few months ago that what was it? I think like CERT Russia or one of the Russian agencies put out about like an ongoing targeted intrusion campaign against them, and it was super interesting to look at because the thing is like it is very rare for one tool to be used against one place. And if you're just calling a Cobalt Strike wrapper a unique tool, that's bullshit. But these things hit everywhere. So
yeah, no, basically it got me to wondering about that. Like, you know, now would be a time to come out and sort of establish your bona fides as an international infosec security company, you know, rather than a Russian security company, because you know, pretty much anything you've done beforehand now no longer counts. You know, it's post-invasion that counts. So yeah, like this would be a great time for Kaspersky to be like, yeah, we have looked into it and we have found, you know, CIA is hacking us. Here's a CIA campaign, or here's what the anonymous guys are doing. They're really fucking annoying, and you know, we're gonna call your mom.
I mean,
Darren.
so that, and that's interesting too. Like, especially in these like really high fire situations, like people learn a lot of defensive stuff real quick, and it kind of falls to see if Russia will like how they're going to respond to this. But it sounds like just in general, they're so flooded with stuff that that organized front seems to be completely falling down. Like there was talk of them pulling people out of like prison in order to come and work in their IT staffs, and it's a cool idea to a degree.
Yeah, so like I saw the numbers, and it's not that bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not that bad. Like there's something like 75,000 IT professionals have left since the start of the war, but they've got 2 million. So, I mean, it's bad, but it's like, it's not really that bad. Like it, so I don't know, like I don't know why they would be going into the prisons if they have only lost that amount, or if they actually have that number on hand. I mean,
it could also just be like sensationalized journalism on it too. Like,
yeah, why is there like would it be that some reward for making Russia look particularly bad? Would that be a motivation? I mean, that seems, rather than going for the truth and unbiased facts and objectivity, seems very very suspect. But yeah, no, you know, because sort of to contrast with it, like if you look at the way that Follina was handled by the InfoSec community on this side, you know, your first reaction on seeing it would have been like, oh, this is probably being used, you know, against Russia, against Belarus by a Western agency. Well, let's fucking patch it. You know, like that's, despite the fact that it appears to be used against, you know, the opposition, and it was done by like possibly Western aligned good guys, it still got fixed immediately. Like it was treated as like, this is a problem for everyone, we need to fix it. And I think that that's pretty cool.
I do kind of love that as well. Like there is really this like no clemency type thing, and there's no like, doesn't matter where the vulnerability is, once it hits broad, it's done. Everybody will patch. Like there's no waiting. But
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, if you end up on VirusTotal, you lose your bug. Like those are the rules.
And that's something I actually really I think about actually pretty regularly. Like if you're a like SIGINT agency and you're doing some sort of like offensive cyber campaigns, and you're using binary tools or something, you should have detection rules on VirusTotal and be watching for it, because the minute that shit hits VT, like that's it's the counter programs to protect your own on it. But there's another thing with the like Follina exploit that's got me kind of, I've noticed, and
Mhm.
it's not that exploit directly, but there's another one that was reported yesterday as well in Confluence that's remote code execution. And that one is really interesting, even though like there's still a lot of open questions about it, not a lot of details. Those are gold mine of systems like GitLab, like anything
Yeah,
Atlassian, like those are incredible high value systems. And
yeah, like just the information alone is like very, very useful. I wonder if any of the ransomware gangs are using a Confluence system.
oh, I do too. I know they were using GitLab, and
Right?
I know GitLab's real
They're using
popular.
Jira. They used Jira before. Like
The,
they've used, like there's a lot of, they're big on using like this like enterprise grade software. So
yep, RedMine was popular, which was weird. I didn't know why RedMine took off. But the thing is like, I mean, if you look at some of these groups, like they're still rocking the old like PHP frameworks and what looked like just ripoffs of old Zeus panels. And like I feel that maintaining a public PHP website. So yeah, it's 2022, but the fact is the site gets beat every day by DDoS attacks and stuff. So
they should just move to WordPress.com. Buy that business deal. I bet there's plugins that they could get. They could actually have an entire plugin ecosystem, right? Your ransomware management plugins. WooCommerce can expand.
they provide the victim notification on portal sites.
Oh my God, this is an entire vertical that's being neglected. I can't believe there's a market opening like this. Yeah.
I mean, RSA is next week. Anything's possible. All right, but hold on. So we talked about this a little bit. I don't, and this is going into sort of a meta discussion about stuff with it, but we talked a little bit about doing something at RSA next week because a bunch of us are going to be there. I don't think we could do anything live but we could probably record and do something like push up from there because trying to live stream with conference Wi-Fi or hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's asking for trouble. So yeah, we could pre-record something. That would be interesting. You know what we could do? We could sell the Keynote slot, just like RSA does, right? That's if you want to be a guest on Glasshouse for RSA, our special RSA something edition. Talk to us. We are selling seats cheaper than whatever they're charging on the floor. So
I should find out.
Less than a booth.
How much does it cost to buy a Keynote?
Over 100,000 for sure. We're cheaper than that.
I should start a conference. Yeah, I'll do it. We'll do it for. We could do it as a percentage growth based on how many more people or less people went to RSA. So if there's 10% more people that went to RSA that year, it's 10% less than whatever their Keynote cost is.
Oh man, no, like we'll just go flat rate. 10,000 a chair, 50-minute slot.
Pitch whatever you want.
Oh.
With our
20,000, we'll endorse whatever the fuck you're talking about too.
That's fair. We'll all wear T-shirts for it. I've got a print-on-demand provider and a reckless disregard for personal safety, so we can do a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah, it's super funny. Like, oh, we should do Glasshouse Swag.
Oh my God, we need a logo first. We need to like get on Fiverr. Sorry, this is like inside baseball stuff, but like we've been talking about this for a while as like one of the things that needs to happen is like getting a logo and then not necessarily doing like merch, but we want to have like a thing to give to guests when they come on. Like I was in Glasshouse and all I got was this incredibly awesome t-shirt.
I was trying to find the like Dave headset things, but they're really expensive.
Yeah.
I have been searching for a really long time for a Polyclava provide like print on demand service that will do the like, face masks with whatever I want custom written on it. It seems like a product that should be more represented. But I can clearly see why it's not. But again, also though, as we've said this now, like live, it kind of commits to getting done. So
yeah. And we accept sponsors because like someone has to pay for all this. Moving onwards, I'm going to segue into Nakasone and hacking the Russians. And it would be really useful if we had that article in front, because he was very, very careful with his wording. And it's raised a huge number of questions. So there was the question about time, like, did it happen before the invasion? Did it happen after the invasion? It was suggested that this was all pre-invasion, but I'm not sure what that's based on, because from what was written in the article, it was very clearly post-invasion. I mean, like, all of the things were like clearly meant after the invasion happened. So when did it happen? The other thing is, where did it happen, right? Was this systems inside Ukraine, or no, like inside OVH, or, you know, wherever, or was it systems inside Russia? Which
and to what extent also of an impact it had. The thing is I'm still not expecting that type of detail, and
we want IPs, we want IOCs, we want binaries.
Like a couple months ago, back when the FBI knocked out all the Hafnium web shells, like I really wanted to find user agents and IP addresses where it came from. Not because I give a shit about doxing their campaigns or anything, but legitimately so that I could filter out, like, from customer environments, being like, okay, this shit, you got to go talk.
Dumb.
It's if you want me to open a ticket for it, we're gonna also have to get your legal team on this too, because you're gonna have a wild adventure in front of you. Like, yeah.
No, so, you know, like, there's a lot of questions, like, so what did they do? Now, this opens up the possibility that maybe the Russian cyber war was going to be a lot more impressive, but it all got stopped by Cybercom. I mean, I don't believe a word of that, but anything's possible. Well, there's the Indestroyer 2 that got found without a clear explanation. Maybe there was a hint dropped around.
There were some things about the Indestroyer 2 stuff that I think could have given it away, and I don't know if we hadn't necessarily had any connection to that, and I don't really want to assume in this case because of how much, like, ass the Ukraine entire country has been ass kicking on stuff like this. So
yeah, like, you gotta suspect that, like, the electrical, like, the grid has got to be under a lot of scrutiny because they're expecting something. Do you have to assume that Microsoft, like, all the assistance that they're giving is, you know, above and beyond, but it's also fairly targeted? It's not gonna, they probably have, like, someone looking at fucking every instruction, single stepping.
I mean, it's not a bad call level to be at some point. Like, I don't, like, per instruction, you're not going to be able to do that. Even for normal operations where, you know, you've got a code signed block, like a stamped signed block of code where it's like, this is known trusted, hit, you know, continue till next return, or continue to use a code.
No, I think that there are plenty of good explanations for how Indestroyer got discovered without invoking the cybercom in the machine, right? Like that, but still, you know.
But I'll also say, like, it's with how much data has, and I was thinking about this yesterday, like, and I was like scrolling through a couple, like, Telegram groups where they've got, like, leaked data floating around, and some of the volumes of data are just fucking unbelievable. And so I hope that SIG or intelligence agencies are really pulling through this stuff and looking for things that can be actioned, like, quickly, because
DDoS secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, here's where the problem comes in, right? It's essentially like DDoS secrets is like a DDoS, right? The amount of data available so exceeds what can be processed by anything except, like, NSA with their, like, Thresher machines that can, like, fucking mince huge amount. Like, they can probably look for it, but I don't think they're looking through it and then giving say like operational details, like operationally useful details to the Ukrainians. Like they're not looking through it and being like, oh, here's some logins and passwords, and here's some IP addresses and like VPN tokens. This looks like it might be useful. Why don't you use this to like go and shit all over the operations that we're already running?
I mean, I hope they're doing some of that stuff because, like, again, if you want to talk about what real-time like offensive collaboration should look like, that's what it should look like at a day-to-day level as I see it.
Yeah, well, see, like this is one of the interesting things is that like basically people who are in NSA or CIA that do hacking look at people who are not in those groups doing hacking as basically chaos monkeys who are just going to fling shit everywhere and destroy things. So they are incredibly uninterested in having other people, mucking about with their stuff. And I mean, generally speaking, they're not wrong. Not that, like other people are chaos monkeys. It's just the odds are you're going to get like some idiot at some point who will wreck everything. And you only need that to happen once to have, wrecked everything. So
it also really matters, sort of, as I say it, the type of like offensive work that you're doing as well. Like if you're, I have no idea. I'm trying to think of a safe analogy, but if you're hacking the convenience store that a terrorist no terrorist suspect is visiting, like, and it's a granular, tight like operation. And again, this is purely a random one, and I only thought about it because of like 1-a-day vitamins, and I was thinking about picking stuff at the grocery store. So no secret context here. Like, but if that type of operation, like, you're not going to hand creds off to anybody, like, because it's a narrow access window.
Yeah. And also it is the fact that you know about that might leak sources and methods, right? Like why do you know about this terrorist and this operation? Like that is itself sensitive. So you don't want to reveal that if you can avoid it. Similarly, I think that, we tend to look at collection as just like, everyone does it. It's a normal thing. But actually, you don't necessarily want your partners to collect the exact same stuff you do. You want to process it and then give them product when you're done. You're like, oh yeah, this is what we found,
Yep. Because if you're
most of it anyway, I mean, the parts that you need to know about.
Because the thing also is if you're both looking at the same data sets in the same collection, you're going to have hopefully similar results. You may have differences in analytics, but you might have differences in analytics over here when like the entire story is this bubble that's entirely next to it. So you don't want to self-bias ahead of time.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is like if you're an intelligence agency, information is currency. It's the only currency that matters. Like actual money is something that you trade for information, right? So the only time that you give information to someone else is if they're giving you something of equal or greater value, right? Like you don't just go like handing that shit out to everyone just because they happen to be your friend.
There's paperwork required.
Yeah, I mean, like there are rules, so yeah, I suspect that there's a reasonably good chance that they are not keen on sharing. Like I think that when they do joint operations with like GCHQ or the Australians, I don't think they share like shells. I don't think they're like, okay, I'm done for the day. You can take over the screen session and keep going. Like that seems unlikely to me. But
it is interesting also. I feel like there's a little bit of this sort of self-reflection right now, kind of thinking about how it could look and how might it look for other countries as well. Like what would there is interesting overlaps at times and intrusions between like Iranian and Russian actors or Chinese and Russian actors. Like what like in a collaboration thing, what would it look like? Or Belarus and Russia, like what does that look like?
Right. And, as we've been talking about with, there's this concern that Russia is going to end up being basically a vassal state to China. They will end up having to cooperate on intelligence matters, most likely. Do we necessarily want Sandworm hanging out with APT1?
I mean,
no, maybe not.
They really wouldn't be the group I would want to hang out with, given that Even, like, no, don't get me wrong. Like the Sandworm boys, like I'd love to have a chat with them about Dune, and we can talk about like bashing the Sardaukar all day long. But their entire MO from like when I was writing about them initially was that like they're purely like theatrical in nature, almost, with like stealing other groups' tradecraft and using it. Fuck, I'm not gonna give them any advice on like how to impersonate me on it. So like if I was APT1, I wouldn't want to be doing that. But that, like, that's exactly the thing is like what would that actual operator collaboration look like in the wild from a group like Russia and Belarus?
And to think about, it's like, so yeah, the Ukraine war has basically made a lot of the, like, what is cyber war, very, very real. Like all of the norms that, like civilians are not allowed to like hack unless they happen to be hacking Russia because they were asked to, in which case it's okay. Like then it doesn't count, right? Like it's blown open stuff. It's like this, like, what does cooperation look like? And it's, how about the fact that our adversaries also have alliances? Like they pair up as well.
It's interesting because like with the Ukraine cyber army and places like Telegram, like there's a huge amount that they're pushing out to synchronize everybody, but it's you can choose to synchronize, but you'll know here's all the things we're attacking. But it's not, But again, that might not be the best reflection of what formalized and organized would look like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not very useful for Ukraine. Oh, my dog's asleep and she's like yipping.
My dog was one of my dogs was furious all night because there was a raccoon having a party in our recycling bin.
Oh, yeah, we don't have animals like that.
Pandas?
No, I don't think raccoons like live out here.
They're cuddly and they have rabies. Like, what could be more fun?
Oh, we've got rabies. Yeah, no, like that's all good. Fuck, where were we? I was just gonna say, actually, like with cooperation, Belarus and Russia did cooperate. Remember the January hack? The defacement was attributed to one and some of the wipers to the other. So, we've already seen that there is cooperation from like the opposition. It's very cool. Oh, and when Ukraine, when I forget the thing, but like in 2014, when the Ukrainian like joint Russian Ukraine APT like split.
Gamma Red group?
It must be, but yeah, like that's like the inverse, right? Like there used to be very close cooperation, and now, one could say that there isn't. a little bit more acrimonious.
I think that's a very fair statement. It's
I don't think I'm revealing state secrets on this one, but
no, and I find them a very interesting group to track as well, especially with some of the stuff that the like Russian agencies have dropped on them. And there's actually like whole lists of people that used to work as part of their unit. They're posted up on the Ukrainian forums. It's like traitors list. It's fucking savage. And I remember when I was like chasing some of it down, like I found the list. I'm like, holy shit, here's everybody that they work with. Like, this is who probably gets the coffee. Like,
oh, yeah, that some of that stuff is a little bit, it goes further than I'm necessarily comfortable with. I mean, it's their own thing, they can do what they like, but I wouldn't want to necessarily touch it, would be my position. But yeah, it's, so like what the fuck did the US actually do? And I think so, like, I think there's a lot of interesting things to consider when doing like cyber operations that have like cyber effects operations where you're trying to achieve something. Like you do a thing because it's going to change behavior in some way, right? Like you're not doing it because like it's there. You're doing it because it will get you a thing that you want in some way. I always wonder, like, what happens when the behavior occurs after the effect, however, they're not actually related, right?
What do you mean?
So like let's say you basically did like you DDoSed a like, this is going to be a terribly bad example. Okay, there's a mom and pop store and you're angry and you DDoS them. It happens to be the same day that they've declared bankruptcy. They just haven't announced it yet, right? Mm-hmm. So then they declare bankruptcy and go out of business. And you go, I can fucking make people go out of business with DDoS, because that is the cause and effect, right? Like, you do a DDoS, you find out that they've gone bankrupt. That's pretty powerful, you know?
So actually, funny story that I can't go to actual specifics on, but if you want a really good case of this, is many years ago when like Ananops was doing, this was like 2013, when Ananops was DDoSing everybody left and right, they announced a DDoS attack against a multinational company, and later that day the entire company goes offline, and all the news stories were like, anonymous takes down this company.
Right.
You know, one of these flash in the pan stories. Technically it was not. It was a SOC analyst's like second day, and he did not read the procedure correctly for how to block DDoS attacks, and ended up disconnecting that company from the internet.
Well, it stopped the DDoS attack, didn't it?
It stopped the DDoS attack. I mean, and my boss was
critical about like these like little details of how it was done. You know, I think that's missing the forest for the trees at this point. It's, you have to see that generally speaking, the DDoS was stopped at the source.
Correct, but that's not how my boss saw it when he called me, like, to chew me out for not reading the procedure. So
it's the older generation. They just don't understand things.
I mean, I saw the issue, but then again, also it was me too of working there in a customer's production environment under attack.
Well, I mean, it reminds me of like the like, I'm pretty sure it's come out several times, but you remember when after the Sony thing, there was the like, you know, we will, you know, retaliate in a time and manner of our choosing, and then North Korea, like, it went offline, like completely offline, and that's because there was like the one router for all of North Korea, and like every intelligence agency in the world was like, the Americans are going to do something. This I gotta see. So they all hit that one router at once, and like it blew up.
Well, there was somebody who was like DDoSing North Korea apparently like a few months ago, and DPRK is still pissed about it. Like this one guy, they're like, fuck you in particular.
Come on, what are they going to do? Like hire a couple of sex workers and kill him with nerve agent while he's in the airport?
Only if they think that it's part of a reality TV show.
Yeah, come on, they do that once, just once, and they never.
and that's the thing is you got to imagine also that whatever unit that it was in charge of setting it up, that is now the only thing they are known for. Like world renowned, it's like, yeah, we're the fucking towel team. Like,
yeah, exactly, man. Some guy's going there and like, and do they call me Kim? Like the exfiltrator? No. Or do they call me Kim? The infiltrator? No, it's Kim, the sex worker guy.
after all of these operations I pulled, like I've been through hell, and that's what
you hire one hooker.
All right, we should probably wrap soon, and
yeah, we've gone off topic. So thank you for joining us in this abbreviated deep dive on well, the Nakasone thing, the Follina thing, how we're going to make money out of selling out at RSA, and yeah, fucking take us up on that, absolutely. And yeah, so thanks for joining us. Not next week because of RSA, but the week after we have a guest lined up. So 2 guests, in fact, I think. So that's going to be quite cool.
Hell yeah.
Just for that.
Cool.
So, oh yeah. Wait, hang on. Smash like the bell, subscribe, comments, etc. Wait, what do you think about Follina and Nakasone? leave a note in the comments.
I'm totally gonna carve that up and make GIFs of it now. Forward.
All right, cool. Thanks, everyone.